some ways, at some point in your life, everybody can be a lost rider. Good morning and welcome to the second half of this week's News from the Camp House. This is Herman Brune, and we're here this weekend with Dr. Dinges. He is a Texas State veterinarian. He is the executive director of the Texas Animal Health Commission. Okay, TAHC. All right, he's executive director. So now he's cluing us in a little bit on what's going on with the screwworms. And all right, so where we cut it off at in the first half was we were saying that by July there will be a facility in Mexico producing these sterile flies. That's the way you fight screwworms, is with sterile flies. Am I correct? Is that what you said, that by July there will be a facility in Mexico ready to do this, correct?
They hope to have the USDA has the New World Screwworm Directorate they formed several months ago. They have staff and team members that are working with the Mexican government on a daily basis to get that facility transformed into a production facility for New World Screwworm sterile flies. Yes, sir. But it may take them up till December of this year to get up to 100 million sterile fly production capacity. So that's the big part. One good thing about this fly is it can be easily eradicated with the use of the sterile insect technique in these sterile flies that are produced. But we don't have enough of those flies to be released right now to get it stopped and moved back down into Central America. They're talking about 400 to 500 million sterile flies a week being needed to do that. So,
and the Central Americas, they don't have a facility.
Well, we do have a facility, and it's the only one in the world. It's the facility there at Panama.
That's correct. Facility. Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir. And they produce, 100 million sterile flies a week. And normally it takes them only about, if the flies are south of the Darien Gap there, usually it just takes them about 40,000 sterile flies a week to release to keep them in check. But there are several things that they thought that might have led to the issue of the fly moving north of the Darien Gap there in Panama to begin with. They thought that COVID may have played a part in it, with people not being able to show up for work. There could have been supply chain issues with supplying the parts there to the Copeg facility. There could have been they were worried about the libido of the mating ability of the sterile fly with the wild type fly. So they did change the strain of fly back in August of 2024. So they're producing a different strain of fly now.
Okay. All right. So we're looking at July, and then we're looking on to next December. But weather-wise, we got winter here. Are we counting on the weather at all to kind of knock this back?
Well, unfortunately, we've had a unseasonably warmer winter so far. These flies don't like an ambient temperature of about 65 degrees. Anything below that, their activity slows down. It would take a hard freeze in the ground to be frozen several days to kill the pupae, that are in the ground from these flies and their larvae.
Mm-hmm.
But one good thing that Secretary Rollins has done, they've worked on developing another sterile fly dispersal center there at the Moore Air Base here in Edinburgh.
Okay.
That facility is completed. They're going to start bringing up some pupae from Panama there to put in that facility and train some folks, and then if they need to be, they can activate that dispersal center and distribute sterile flies from there, which they would bring up the 100 million sterile flies or however many they would need at that facility, the pupae, and let them mature and then disperse them from there.
When would that come online?
So they're shooting for 18 months from August of this last year. So they're looking at March of 2027 before that dispersal center would be, where they could, quote unquote, hand the keys over to where they could start to develop a fly brood. They're thinking initially they could produce 100 million sterile flies, and then they're going to continue to build that facility out to where eventually they'll get to 300 million sterile flies.
All right. Is there any plans? Say we get into April, May, June, it starts warming up around here in June, and all of a sudden we find them. What do you tell people to do?
You bet. So the New World screwworm is considered a foreign animal pest, and so we have to take the samples of those of the fly larvae and send those to the National Veterinary Services Lab in Ames, Iowa. They'll be identified. They'll be verified that they're New World screwworm larvae, and then basically we're going to have to rely on animal movement control initially, and then within 2 days we should have sterile flies from Copag there to release. But being that we don't have enough sterile flies that we need, the amount that we need, we're going to have to rely heavily on animal movement control to stop the movement of these infested animals, so to speak. So we'll establish infested zones, and then establish surveillance zones around those. These zones will be about 12 miles in radius. And then we're going to, and we've got the ability to quarantine, if you will, these areas. But I can assure that we're dedicated to the continuity of business the best we can. But we're going to try to, wrap our hands around this and get it stopped and get it stamped out as quick as we can. These animals can move out of these infested zones. They just need to be inspected, number one, treated, identified, and then have the documentation that they've had all that done to them, and then those animals can move out of those infested zones that we have.
Right. The wild card in that is wildlife.
You bet. I mean and that's one thing we have not had from Mexico is surveillance on wildlife. We've been asking for that since November of 2024. We've yet to really see how it's affected the wildlife population there in Mexico. So I know the USDA's wildlife services have been down to Mexico and tried to impress upon them the need for wildlife surveillance, and I think they've got some things in place to help improve that. But as far as the wildlife go, we're kind of left in the dark as to how it's affected that in Mexico. And I know, in the 50s and 60s, it wiped out pretty much 60 to 80% of the fawn crop here in South Texas in the white-tailed deer.
Yeah.
So the wildlife will play a really important part in that.
Right. All right. I'll tell you what, let me throw a curve in here right quick. I've got a completely different question on a different topic, and I'm just curious about it. A few months ago, I shot what I'm pretty sure was a rabid coon, and I couldn't find anybody that wanted to even know about it. I thought somewhere there was records kept on these type of things.
The Department of State Health Services handles the rabies in Texas. You could get a hold of a game warden or a veterinarian, and then they could help with the submission of that animal to the Department of State Health Services. They have a lab here in Austin that tests animals for rabies.
Okay. All right, because I couldn't find. Well, I talked to quite a few officials, and I couldn't get anybody even have really were too interested in it. You know, they
Yes, sir.
they really didn't want to know about it. And it
I'll be
was
darned.
no, yeah.
I would contact the animal control officer in whatever county you live in, and and they should be able to help you. They should be really interested in it. So
yeah,
yeah.
I tried several places, and nobody. I said, well, what'd you do with it? And I said, I didn't touch it. And he went, well, either go bury it, or go take care of it in the manner you're talking about, or something else. They said, but yeah.
You definitely want to make sure and wear some latex gloves or protect yourself from getting anything into an open wound or mucous membrane.
Yeah,
or something like that.
went. Well, the scary part, it was on the highway, and there was a lady trying to feed it cookies or something,
goodness.
And I had to warn her away from it, and and it was a very nice, well-dressed lady with jewelry on, and driving a nice car, and saw an animal in distress and wanted to feed it. And I had to convince her that this was not anything she could remedy, and that I had the remedy, and she just needed to leave. And we finally got. She stood there and tried to feed it cookies till it started coming towards her, and then I think it looked so horrible that she got back in her car and left. And she said, well, how are you gonna help it? I said, well, I'm just gonna put it out of its misery.
Yes.
And she goes, oh, I don't want to see that. And so that was the end of that. But yeah, I couldn't find any county people that were interested in knowing about it. So that was the State Health Commission.
Yeah, well, the Department of State Health Services.
Okay.
But any animal control officer in the county should be able to help you with that deal there.
All right.
Bet, so.
Well, that was a curiosity to me. I also looked up, and I saw Kerr County has a lot of, they keep track of it better over around Kerrville. Apparently more incidences of it. But as I read all their regulations, I went, this is exactly why people don't report it. There were so many restrictions and regulations. I said, well, this is why it don't get reported sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I don't know how prevalent it is in raccoons. I know, skunks are more prevalent to be infected with rabies, I believe. But
okay. All right.
You bet.
Well, go ahead.
How are you related to a Kenneth Brune?
Oh, that's cousin. Yeah,
okay.
that's
my dad was friends with him. He used to, I guess, they did a radio report for Columbus Livestock for years, I guess.
Yes.
Did he not? Yeah. And then I don't know, but they had some kind of big feed at a deer camp
absolutely.
Deer season, I want to say, did they not? You bet. Okay.
Big old feed, big old gambling party. So,
you bet.
So, all right. Well, thanks.
No worries about all that. So you absolutely holler back if I can help you with anything.
I'll do it. Okay, hang on just a second, folks. I hope you enjoyed this weekend's edition of News from the Camp House. Hope you learned something. Hope you kind of know where we stand with screwworms, what's going on, what the state's trying to do, and what to do if you see something suspicious. So, all right. This weekend's edition was also brought to us by Shaw's Bend Social Club, country club folks who don't have a country club. Now, go out, have fun, be safe this weekend, and y'all just remember, pretty much any day is sure a good day to be out in the woods.